I am Marvin Ross. In our lead stories nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis' Prime Minister issues a statement on the passing of BVI's first premier, and CEDU to host a symposium aimed at transforming small businesses. Regionally, former Antigua regulator appears in U.S. court on fraud charges days after being extradited. Internationally, first public hearing in the Trump impeachment inquiry begins. And in sporting news, West Indies batsman Nicholas Pooran banned for ball tampering. We will have the details to these and other stories after this short break.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back and on to our national news segment. St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris has extended his heartfelt sympathy to the people of the British Virgin Islands and the Caribbean on the passing of the Honorable Ralph T. O'Neill, OBE, who died on Monday 11th November at the age of 85 years old. He was born on December 15, 1933 in Virgin Gorda, British Virgin Islands, BVI. Prime Minister Harris was quoted as saying, "The Right Honorable Ralph T. O'Neill, OBE, was an inimitable fixture in Caribbean politics and a flag bearer for the economic resiliency and prosperity of small islands. We in St. Kitts and Nevis can count ourselves honored to be inextricably linked to the Honorable Ralph T. O'Neill, MBE, as he spent some time at one of our elite schools, which served him well as a stepping stone to greatness." He also extended his deepest condolences to Mr. O'Neill's beloved wife, Reverend Idris O'Neill, OBE, and 4 children, as well as their extended family and the people of the BVI who joined them in mourning his passing. Mr. O'Neill became the British Virgin Islands' first premier from 2007 to 2011 when the BVI adopted a new constitution which introduced a cabinet style of government that saw the chief minister position replaced and renamed with premier. He was credited as being one of the longest serving members of parliament from 1975 to 2015 in the English-speaking Caribbean. The Small Enterprise Development Unit, CEDU, here in Nevis, continues to invest in the development of small businesses on the island. The unit will be hosting a small business symposium under the theme, Transformation of MSMEs Through Innovation. The event is scheduled to be held on Wednesday, 20th November from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Nevis Performing Arts Center, NEPAC. In speaking with this media house, Business Counseling and Marketing Officer at CEDU, Ms. Rhonda Thompson, spoke of how participants would benefit from the symposium.
It's an opportunity for small businesses to come and learn effective ways to use innovation as a tool in improving their operational strategy. It should invigorate, reignite, and revamp entrepreneurs' views on managing their small businesses for an overall economic development in the global market.
Asked whether this will in turn boost the island's economic growth, this was Ms. Thompson's response.
Before we boost the economy, we have to boost our small businesses, which is very important towards the economy. So we are hoping once we boost our small businesses to now rethink how they operate, this can then reignite the economic growth and development overall.
That is Ms. Rhonda Thompson. The keynote speaker for the event is Ms. Midge Morton, partner at Morton Robinson LP. There will also be a small business panel comprising of Mr. Daniel Arthurton, Mr. Quincy Prentice, Mr. Anthony Morton, Mr. Denrick Libert, and Mr. Brandon D. Bello. Meanwhile, the unit will be hosting a small business boardwalk fair on Thursday, 12th December 2019. It is stated to take place at the Samuel Hunkins Drive from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Counseling and Marketing Officer at CEDU, Ms. Rhonda Thompson, noted that the event is geared towards small enterprises displaying their various products and or services.
The aim is for small businesses to showcase their talent or their goods, their services. We've held workshops in tie-dye and batik, so we're hoping persons would come on board and showcase what they've learned from the workshop in tie-dye and batik. Anyone in the clothing and textile industry, anyone in the arts and craft, anyone who have businesses that they think would be a good selling point for them, for Nevis and for them at this fair.
That is Ms. Rhonda Thompson. Businesses that is interested in participating in the event are asked to register at CEDU, with the registration fee being $75. The Alpha and Omega Christian Center is gearing up to host its 3rd annual marriage seminar, being held under the theme To Love You More Married and Singles Conference. The event is slated for Friday, 6th December at the Cotton Ground Community Center at 7 p.m. and is hosted by pastor couple Mr. and Mrs. Thompson Joseph. In an interview with the VON Newsline, Mr. Joseph explained how the topic for this year's conference came about.
My inspiration for this topic, it really came out from my experience and my prayer time with God, and it was personal for me to the point where I really wanted to love my wife more and to know her more than I already do. And while I was just thinking about the whole thing and praying to God about the whole thing, I was like, hey, this sounds great, and I shared it with my wife to gather what she think about the whole thing. And we just kept to this topic and find it's a really good thing to talk about, because what we find in this time that a lot of people, they don't know how to love somebody more than they already do. And you could never fully know somebody, to be honest. But one of the things is that when you make time for someone, when you spend time with somebody to know them, to love them, it will bring forth a healthier relationship than the one you have.
Topics to be discussed at the event are to know who, that is to know you more, to love you more, intimacy, anorexia, and bones of my bones, flesh of my flesh. The pastor further explained that the event is not solely geared towards adults, but will also have youths as part of the agenda.
When you watch the community in itself, a lot of children, they are broken, a lot of children, they are hurt because of family issues. Sometimes you find the father figure is not there in the home. They were raised in a broken home, and then you have all those issues in the community, and it affects the community. So what we're trying to gather from the people, or we're trying to inspire them with, is then to teach them what to look out for in their relationship, teach them how to be more in their relationship, so that they would have a healthy relationship, not only for themselves, but for the children as well, that they would learn from the parents. So in doing so, we are trying to impact not only the couples, but the children and the generation.
Mrs. Joseph also admonished the general public to go out and support and to participate in the activity.
It will definitely be an eye-opener and an educational experience for those that are single, both interested in marriage and not interested, because we have heard this time and time again. We are promoting marriage because it is a blessed union, and that's what God wanted from the beginning of time, because it promotes so much safety and protection emotionally, spiritually, physically. There's so many benefits to marriage, and so we are definitely making a plea to those that are single and not interested and interested in marriage, those that are engaged and those that are married, even the divorce, because you never know what God can do.
Pastor Tebron Joseph. The Food and Agriculture Organization, FOO, has partnered with the local ministries of agriculture and health, as well as other stakeholders in St. Kitts and Nevis, today, Wednesday, 13th November, where they concluded a progressive management pathway, a PMP workshop on St. Kitts. The three-day workshop, which began on Monday, 11th November at the Ocean Terrace Inn, was geared towards finding solutions to combat antimicrobial resistance, AMR. AMR refers to the ability of a microorganism like bacteria, viruses, and some parasites to stop an antimicrobial such as antibiotics, antivirals, and anti-malarials from working against it. Speaking at the workshop, Chief Veterinary Officer Dr. Tracy Challenger explained AMR, saying that it occurs when the treatment that we use to treat antimicrobials, bacteria, etc. is rendered ineffective. As a result, standard treatments become more inefficient and infections persist and many spread to others. To combat the AMR, the FAO developed an action plan called the Progressive Management Pathway, PMP, to assist countries with the development and operationalization of a multi-sector One Health National Action Plan, NAP. The AMR, that is PMP, has been pilot tested in 4 countries across Africa, Europe, and Central Asia, and has been met with positive feedback. Finally, in our national news segment, Amal Vasu, a 12-year-old student of the Baba High School, has been recognized by the Tucker Clark Primary School, his alma mater, for placing 3rd in the regional finals of the 2019 Florida Caribbean Cruise Association FCCA poster competition. Mr. Vasu received the recognition for his performance on Tuesday, 12th November, at a brief ceremony at the institution where both Vasu and the school were each presented with a check for US $1,000. The check was presented by Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Lindsey Grant, on behalf of the FCCA. Minister Grant noted that the performance by Amal was noteworthy given that his submission was judged as one of the best among posters from 15 countries. He competed in the junior division category where his piece was based on the theme Solutions for Ocean Pollution. In 2016, a tourism education awareness program was launched on St. Kitts with topics ranging from caring for the environment, protecting historical sites, and learning about the many career opportunities in the tourism sector. The program is being piloted by the Bastille High School and the Advanced Vocational Education Center, as well as the Dr. William Connor, Sandy Point, Tyrrell Williams, and Tucker Clark primary schools. That concludes our national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vaughanradio.com, or you can check out our social media sites on Facebook at Vaughan Radio, and also our YouTube channel also at Vaughan Radio for these and other stories. News from across the region comes up next.
Life can be more fulfilling when we take the time out to smell the roses. And that's why your friends and family at the Bank of Nevis are experts at picking the flowers that best describe you. Whether you're planning to treat yourself after a long work week or finally getting around to that closet update, you deserve all the special things that life has to offer. And the Bond Visa card is here to help you achieve it. With just a swipe, you can turn a last-minute lunch date with friends and family into something worth remembering, with memories that will last a lifetime. Pampering yourself just got a whole lot easier. And after all, you deserve every refreshing moment of it. The ability to make your travel arrangements at your own convenience, whether by sea or by air, now rests within the palm of your hand. With a single swipe, the Bond Visa card can put a world of difference between life and truly living. Whereas the only limit you may have is your own imagination. Apply today. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Welcome back and on to our regional news segment. The former chief of Antigua and Barbuda's Financial Services Regulatory Commission, FSRC, Leroy King, has made his first court appearance in the United States days after being extradited from the Twin Island nation to face charges for his alleged role in connection with the Stanford International Bank, SIB, US $7 billion investment fraud scheme. King, 74, was the last remaining defendant in the SIB Ponzi scheme. He had been fighting his extradition since he was charged in June 2009. He appeared before U.S. Magistrate Judge Dina Hanovis, Palermo in Houston, Texas yesterday. King was charged along with Alan Stanford and several others. The indictment charges him with 1 count of conspiracy to commit mail, wire, and securities fraud, 7 counts of wire fraud, 10 counts of mail fraud, 1 count each of conspiracy to obstruct and obstruction of a Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) investigation, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. It is alleged that King accepted more than US $100,000 in bribes from Stanford in exchange for ignoring the actual value of SIB's assets. He also allegedly assisted Stanford and others in obstructing the SEC's investigation into the bank. A federal jury found Stanford guilty in June 2012 for his role in orchestrating the 20-year investment fraud scheme in which he misappropriated US $7 billion from SIB to finance his personal business. He is serving a 110-year prison sentence. 5 others were also convicted for their roles in the scheme and received sentences ranging from 3 to 20 years in federal prison. And in news out of Barbados, the Ministry of Education in Barbados is looking into introducing handheld scanners and random spot checks at a secondary school where a 16-year-old student was stabbed to death by a 15-year-old on the compound last week. And other schools could also be in line for those measures. The disclosure was made by Minister of Education Sanita Bradshaw during a press conference at the Edgerton Teachers Training College, where teachers from the Frederick Smith Secondary School received counseling throughout the day. Some of the students are scheduled to return to school on the country's west coast from tomorrow. Others returned the following day and the remainder next Monday. The Education Minister further indicated that the handheld scanners could be introduced at other schools which have been experiencing challenges with deviant behavior. She said the Board of Management as well as the principals of these schools were reviewing the issue to determine if the scanners would be required. However, Bradshaw cautioned that it was not a case of one fit for all. She added that the ministry owed it to all concerned to take the necessary steps to weed out deviant behavior. And in news out of Guyana, for the second time around, public servants this year will receive a tax-free retroactive salary increase, Finance Minister Winston Jordan has announced. Along with their retroactive salaries, public servants will also see minimum wage taking a 9% hike, moving from $64,200 to $70,000. Minister Jordan made the announcement this morning on the National Communications Network NCN Insight radio program. In 3.5 years, the minimum wage has gone up by over 75%. I think by any stroke of circumstance, that is significant. That is a significant development, and I know that the workers are going to be happy, he said. During a meeting with residents of Kawanki Region 10, Upper Demaraba, Berbice on Sunday, Minister Jordan said the hike to public servants' salaries this year will take the overall increase to an all-time high of 75%, a record unheard of under any previous administration. And that concludes our regional news segment. The latest in international news comes up next. Welcome back and on to our international news segment. The House Intelligence Committee today began the first public hearings of the impeachment probe with 2 key Democrat officials testifying. The inquiry was sparked by a whistleblower's complaint about President Trump's July 25th call with the President of Ukraine, in which Mr. Trump urged him to investigate a company that had employed Joe Biden's son. Officials have since testified behind closed doors about an apparent effort to pressure Ukraine to announce investigations using a White House visit and a military aid as leverage. We have more in this BBC report.
This is a process that's been conducted in private, literally held below ground in a secure facility in the Capitol building. But today the hearings go public, under camera lights, and will be carried live and coast to coast by all the main US networks. If Americans weren't following the moves to impeach the president before, they will be today. And at issue, a half-an-hour phone call in late July with a second-tier foreign leader that potentially will be the defining moment of the Trump presidency.
Meanwhile, former South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford, one of 3 Republicans to challenge President Donald Trump, has ended his 2020 White House bid. Mr. Sanford blamed the impeachment inquiry into the president for making it impossible to talk about policies like decreasing government spending. Impeachment is pulling all the oxygen out of the room in Republican circles, he told reporters on Tuesday. No challenger is expected to snatch the party's mantle from Mr. Trump. And the World Health Organization WHO on November 12th pre-qualified an Ebola vaccine for the first time, a critical step that will help speed up its licensing, accessing and roll out in countries most at risk of Ebola outbreaks. This is the fastest vaccine pre-qualification process ever conducted by WHO. Pre-qualification means that the vaccine meets WHO standards for quality, safety, and efficiency. United Nations agencies and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, can procure the vaccine for at-risk countries based on this WHO recommendation. The BBC's Ann Soy reports.
A WHO pre-qualification is granted only after a drug passes important safety and efficacy tests. But this vaccine has already been in use since last year to contain 2 outbreaks in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The government there invoked compassionate protocols to allow its use while research was still underway. And it is evidence collected during that time that has convinced regulators that it is safe and effective against Ebola. The vaccine will be available in the market from around mid-next year.
Finally, in our international news segment, cross-border violence between Israel and militants in Gaza is continuing a day after an Israeli airstrike killed a Palestinian Islamic Jihad commander. After an overnight lull, rocket fire towards Israel resumed and Israeli aircraft conducted retaliatory strikes. Gaza's health ministry said 13 Palestinians had been killed by Israeli fire on Wednesday, bringing the death toll there to 23 since Tuesday. In Israel, almost 50 people had been treated for injuries and or anxiety. Egyptian and UN officials have been attempting to de-escalate the situation, but PIJ has said it is not yet appropriate to talk about mediation. That concludes our international news segment. The latest in sports comes up next.
Tuesdays are Tuesday at the TDC Home and Building Depots this and every Tuesday in November. Choose your instant savings and get rewarded when you shop in-store for quality products in every category from A to Z. It's that simple. The choice is clear. Make Tuesdays your Tuesday at the TDC Home and Building Depots. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Welcome back, and in sporting news, in cricket news, West Indies batsman Nicholas Pooran has been banned from his country's next 4 T20 internationals after admitting to tampering with the ball. The 24-year-old was caught on camera using his thumb to scrape the ball and seam during the final match of the 3-0 one-day series win over Afghanistan. Pooran has since accepted the charge under the International Cricket Council's ICC code. The batsman will return to Yorkshire as an overseas player during 2020. Pooran has signed to play in the majority of next year's T20 Blast, having featured for the country in that competition in 2019. Pooran has signed, that is in a statement from the ICC cricket's world governing body, reads, Pooran was charged for violating Article 2.14 of the code, which relates to changing the condition of the ball. He will now miss the next 4 T20 international games for the West Indies and will have 5 demerit points added to his record. And in some NFL news, the NFL has arranged a private workout for ex-San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick on Saturday that all 23 teams are invited to attend. The 32-year-old has not played since the 2016 season when he began kneeling for the national anthem in protest against racial injustice in the USA. The workout in Atlanta will include on-field work and an interview. The NFL said that several teams have asked about Kaepernick's readiness to play, with the player keen to return. The league has discussed possible steps with Kaepernick's camp and decided on a workout run by scouting combined personnel and former NFL coaches. Video of both the on-field work and interview will be made available to all 32 teams, although any team present can hold their own interviews with Kaepernick, who led the 49ers to Super Bowl 47. In October 2017, Kaepernick filed a grievance against NFL team owners he believed were conspiring not to hire him. And in some baseball news, Major League Baseball and the Houston Astros are investigating claims the team illegally used a camera to steal signs from catchers to pitchers during their 2017 World Series winning season. Former Astro pitcher Mike Fiers and 3 anonymous sources told The Athletic that Houston, used the camera in the outfield during home games. MLB prohibits the use of electronic equipment to steal signs, but the practice, while frowned upon, is otherwise not against the rules. Catchers flash signs to pitchers using their fingers to call for a specific delivery, such as a fastball, curveball, or slider, and knowing what pitch is likely to be coming is an advantage to the batter. The Astros beat the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 7 at Dodgers Stadium to win a thrilling 2017 World Series. It was their first and only championship title, with Houston having been beaten 4-3 by the Washington Nationals in this year's World Series. And that concludes our sporting news segment. The latest weather forecast comes up next. And your weather forecast for today: partly cloudy to cloudy with a 50% or moderate chance of showers. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a 20% or slight chance of showers. The winds are east-northeast with speeds ranging between 13 to 26 kilometers per hour or 7 to 14 knots. Seas 0.9 to 1.5 meters or 3 to 5 feet. Your sunrise for tomorrow will be at 14 minutes moving away from this 6 o'clock hour. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Wednesday, 13th November 2019. But before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis' Prime Minister issues a statement on the passing of BVI's first premier and sealed to host a symposium aimed at transforming small businesses. Regionally, former Antigua regulator appears in U.S. court on fraud charges days after being extradited. Internationally, first public hearing in the Trump impeachment inquiry begins. And in sports, West Indies batsman Nicholas Pooran banned for ball tampering. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Marvin Ross, and I'm wishing you a pleasant evening.